You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and garden advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
And welcome to The Mountain Gardener. This is your host, Ken Lane, here at in the studios of Waters Garden Center. We've been doing this show for a lot of years, and it's just what is going on in the gardens of northern Arizona. And this is a season of transition. You're seeing some of your plants, they're looking pretty rough. And so this week I've been, it's actually my gardens look better because I've been working on them. I've taken some stuff out, just said, guys, way overgrown. Come on. The hail had beat up some leaves and they were torn. Some snails got to them. Grasshoppers are going after them. I just went, okay, that's it. I'm calling it. You're out. I got fresh new things in. It's just nice to see some open soil, some garden soil. Not even to plug things into, just simply to see it freshened up. Less of that old foliage, dead leaves underneath, spent flowers. Just kind of touching plants makes them feel better. And so some plants I cleaned up and they look great. Some plants I cleaned up and went, nope, you still aren't worthy enough to be in the lane, Casa. You are out of here. And so we got things out. And then you're seeing at your garden centers right now, I don't care where you're tuned in from. You're seeing this from Kingman to White Mountains, from Flagstaff to Anthem and Sedona and Payson and Prescott and everything in between, northern Arizona. You're seeing your fall crops show up. So you're seeing pansies, the very first crop of pansies. These are winter blooming pansies. They came in this week. So across the North Country, violas, snapdragons are finally back. People have been wanting snapdragons and they don't bloom in the summer. Snapdragons look their best in the spring and the fall. They're kind of evergreen. They always have some foliage at most of the elevations. So they might stop blooming here in this mid-level chaparral area, this Payson to Prescott to Kingman area, this little wave in the middle of the state. They might stop blooming in January, but by the end of Valentine's, they're starting to bloom right again. So it's one of these great biannuals. We really don't call them a perennial, although we should, because they just do so well. Here in the mountains, they reseed, they come up other places. It's a great wildflower. Snapdragons every yard should have at least one. And I would say they come in such broad colors, you should have at least a dozen. So a lot of our container gardens, they reseed and come up downhill, just kind of the seeds spill over and they just magically come up and they've been blooming. I did not plant them there. The seed or the birds got them to reseed there and they've just come up. And so that's the kind of flowers I want in my yards. So some of the things look a little rough. So the potato vine, I had to cut back a little bit, mainly because here's what I found. Here's the insider scoop. This just a couple days ago. I was having mosquito issues. I couldn't sit in the front yard. And I'm going, okay, our front yard, all of our yards, especially the front yard, is set up to sip tea, sip coffee in the morning, or sip a glass of wine as the sun sets in the evening. It's set up to really enjoy it. This little courtyard it's like a secret garden. Water's running in the background. You've got hummingbirds coming in to take on the water, sip through the flowers, lots of container gardens. And we can't sit out there because mosquitoes are eating us alive at sunset. Well, that ain't going to happen very long. You mess with me. Actually, you don't mess with me. They don't like me. You mess with Lisa, my wife, and I'm coming after you. And so she is like soft, like gooey nectar for mosquitoes. They love her. So she runs inside. I'm going, okay, that's it. And I started doing some recon going, where are these things coming from? I don't have still water. There's no pools of things sitting there. There's no place for them to breed. They're breeding other places and the wind's bringing them to my house. And what I found was they were hanging out underneath the shaded areas of my potato vine. And so I just simply pruned those up a little bit so air could flow through there. And then, here's what I really did. I went out and I sprayed in a hose-in sprayer. I just said, death to all mosquitoes. And I hosed down those areas with a an insecticide. I just said no bugs, no flies are allowed, no mosquitoes are allowed in our house, at least in this bubble right here. And so I sprayed that area with multi-purpose insect spray. That's a spray we make here at the shop. You put it in a hose-in sprayer and then hose down areas, and there's no mosquitoes left. And I might have to do this, I don't know, once a week. What happens is the mosquitoes get really bad as we start to cool off. In the evening, they become ferocious, like they know the end is coming, like fall is here. I must have sucked the juice out of every living thing I possibly can, because for tomorrow I freeze and die. And so they're really bad, and they're mean, and they're grumpy, and they eat you alive. And so I might have to do that once a week. Probably not. Probably it's been over 2 weeks since I sprayed the yard last time, so it got us through. So I'll kind of keep an eye on that. And you can do that for your own yard. You can take a look. Where might mosquitoes be hanging out during the daylight? They're in the shadows. They're underneath where it's cool and moist and humid. And for me, it was my hanging gardens. They were hanging out underneath these long tendrils right at the ground level in the big, thick shrubs. If you've got lawns, if you let it get a little bit too high, they'll hang out in the grass, and they just come out at night or at dusk and start to eat you. So spray that area down, open it up, add some air circulation. Of course, do what they tell you to do. Look for standing water, but most of us, we still might have mosquitoes there, so we got more common sense than that. So look for that, and it'll really up your game. At the same time, I hydrated or refilled the fly traps. I don't want flies. They aren't that bad because I have fly traps out, but I got some fly bait from the ranch store, and I got refilled the fly traps, and no flies. No mosquitoes, probably for the next quite a number of days. And you can watch that too. One thing I did notice, though, I noticed that aphids, while I'm out looking, where are insects, where are they gathering, I did find an infestation of aphids on my basil, on the sorrel, what else? Sage. They were on my peppers. They were on my jalapeno peppers. I'm going, why are the jalapeno peppers, the leaves, so shiny? And so I got some organic fertilizer. Aphids are easy. But if I'm eating those plants, I want to make sure I'm using organic sprays to knock back the aphids or my bugs. Where the mosquitoes were, I don't care as much. I used a very inert insecticide. It wasn't organic, but it was darn close to it. So I went for quantity over quality in that case. But things I'm going to eat, I'm going to go pick basil and put it on the tomatoes that I pick in 2 days. I want organics. And so you got to be a little careful with that. Use some common sense and don't spray yourself. Don't spray the dogs. I keep the animals out of that area until it dries, and then I'll let them back into that area. So some things like that. If you need help, you're just not sure, come talk to us. We've got plant experts extraordinaire with the tools. There's huge microscopes, big screen TVs. With the microscope, we can blow this aphid up and make it the size of like your head. You can see this thing crawling around going, I'm going to eat your face off. Luckily, it's only like the size of a pinhead. But when you blow it up, it looks more insidious. It's pretty frightful sometimes. We got a caterpillar coming in. Ciliads were on the pine trees. So it's a little tiny caterpillar. The customer couldn't quite see it. So we blew it up going, yeah, that's a little, it's like a pine-eating caterpillar. It's called, that basically eats your pine trees. And they went, no, there's no pine. No, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going, well, you brought it in for a reason. But let me show you. You put it under microscope and you go, there it is. And it's moving around before your eyes. You're going, oh, I'm a believer now. So if you get into it, this is a season of transition. Insects are really trying to eat ferociously because they know pretty soon the days are getting shorter. They can feel the coolness in the air. They know that there's transition. And that I'm starting to accessorize my fall things. My huge pumpkins. I grow giant pumpkins. I'm not going to pick them yet, but it's getting close. The fall wreath is not on the front door yet. I'm not there. In a couple of weeks I will be. But the fall flowers are starting to go in. So the pansies and Johnny jump ups and snapdragons. So I love this time of year. Got a lot in store this show for you. Don't change that dial. We'll be right back with a lot of garden tips on The Mountain Gardener.
You're listening to local garden expert Ken Lane, also known as the Mountain Gardener. Ken can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Listen each week as he answers timely garden questions unique to mountain landscapes.
Hi, Lisa with the plants of the week and our Coral Queen Kale.
This unusual plant has deeply serrated foliage with deep green outer leaves and a very dark crimson center.
She is definitely the queen of the autumn garden.
This crop has huge feathery leaves that form large heads the size of beach balls.
Very, very pretty and all for under $10.
Waters Garden Center, the place where people who love very pretty plants, they love to shop. You know how to find us.
Hi, Lisa with the plants of the week and our Ivory Feathers Pampas grass.
The most majestic of all grasses, this dwarf variety grows only 5 feet, making it easier to care for.
In feathery bloom now with long ivory plumes held tall above the flowing green foliage.
At $39, this perfect pampas grass is ready for fall planting while supplies last.
Only grown here at Waters Garden Center, the place where people who love ivory feathered grasses, they love to shop. You know where to find us.
You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and garden advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
And we are back with Lisa Waterslane in the studio. She comes with your garden questions each week, and it has been a busy week. Not for garden questions. That's always, we always have those.
Yes.
But you and I have been on the garden path for the last
Yes.
week. Salt Lake City, here we come.
We left.
Well,
Lake City,
that's true. We
here
did
we
just get back.
left.
Yeah, that's true. I like Utah, especially southern Utah.
Yeah.
Everyone comments about the beauty of the coastal highways.
Mm-hmm.
Coastal highways are ugly compared to Highway 89 going from Arizona up through southern Utah. It is magnificent.
It's very pretty.
And it's not like you pop through and sometimes avoid a train and maybe see the waves on the coast. This is, I mean, that's the coastal highways. It's really not on the coast. It's kind of running up and down the cities up and down the coast. 89 is, you feel small.
Yeah.
It's so majestic, towering. I mean, this is the road from Bryce to Zion to Escalante, Staircase. I mean, all the way up to Salt Lake City. It's
beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Loved it. Like, we decided to stay off the major highway, if you can call it a major highway, and took 89, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. Go through little towns. You kind of pop through all these little towns. It was a fun
great
trip.
coffee shops and bakeries and just beautiful.
Yes, just watch your speed.
Don't give away your accidents.
Wasn't an accident. I didn't have an accident.
You didn't have an accident. She actually got pulled over, folks.
I was going a little fast, but it's so pretty. I mean, the roads are wide open. There really wasn't
no
lot of
traffic. No, it's just easy.
And it's easy to get distracted, and your foot gets a little heavy on the pedal, and off you go.
She does drive a race car.
Oh,
not a race car. Just an unbelievably fast car. SUV. So it's just pretty as fun.
Probably shouldn't drive.
No, we got to put a regulator on that for you. But he was kind. He gave us 10 over. It was not a big deal.
He was a nice guy. I deserved it. Wasn't a problem. I mean, I wasn't going like 100 miles. He said, "Oh yeah, I just pulled someone over the other day. It was going 120." I'm like, "What?"
On a 2-lane highway.
Yes.
89 is not a 4-lane road. It's
right.
2.
Even I wouldn't go 120. That's crazy.
But it is well worth if you're new to the area, you're new to this part of the Southwest, put it on your list. Start from Page, Arizona, go up to Kanab and hook a right, go north.
Just keep going.
Keep on going as for probably all the way to Canada. It's stunning.
It's
just
very, very pretty.
And then there's a lot of national parks. The Utah state parks are as nice as the national parks. And what I love about Utah is they love their asphalt. They take care of their asphalt. There's a lot of it, and it's well maintained.
It is.
I mean, they just do a magnificent job up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely go back. It was
Well, we're going, honey.
Okay. Not this week.
Garden questions.
Okay, our first question is from Janet. She has a tomato bush, great big tomato bush, tons of green tomatoes. It's a better boy. Wants to know, is there enough time left in the season for those green tomatoes to ripen?
Well, there's nothing like fried green tomatoes. I like fried green, not fried green, but green tomato pickles. I mean, just green tomatoes. There's something about, but yeah, I hear the problem. There is plenty of time. Now, for most of us in this zone 6, 7, 8 zones, down to Cottonwood, Camp Verde, those areas, Sedona, plenty of time. Because your average frost date is usually first frost about Halloween. Okay, it's a little rough because some of you will be a little later into November, some will be a little before. Up in Flagstaff, the White Mountains, Williams, maybe not quite as long, near into middle of October. So you've got a month to month and a half to maybe 2 months, depending on where you're at, of ripening season. And so, yes, you will be buried alive. Have the canning supplies ready because all those will turn red for you, and probably more will come on for you. There's time left, especially for Better Boy. Such a good medium-sized, heavy-producing tomato. Right. I think you're fine. So the days will get shorter. It'll start to get cooler. Watch your frost dates. So if the weatherman says, "Oh, it's going to be a cold one," you might want to get a piece of frost cover. Throw it over there just in case, because we're famous for our Indian summers. It'll threaten to be cold, and then it warms right back up. And so you just get it through that frost of end of October, 1st November, and it'll warm back up. You won't see frost again for another week or two. So just be ready. But I think you've got time to ripen. If we find the season shortens down to where it's not ripening, I'll put an article out going how to ripen tomatoes in a box or hang it upside down in the garage. I've got things like that's happened before where it turned winter
early.
Like really early. But I don't think that's this year. I think we're good to go.
Hard to say.
It is.
Crazy weather.
Yeah, it's the mountains for you.
That's true. All right. Derek is looking for a good fall tree that isn't good fall color tree that is not a maple.
Okay.
Because he already has 2 maples.
Sure.
But he's looking for more good fall color trees.
You can help me with this. I mean, that's we go on the list. I'm just walking the tree racks in my head. Ash. Mm-hmm. Those are good purples and oranges. Yeah, Raywoods. Autumn Fantasies, a beautiful red and purple. Mm-hmm. Great choice.
Sure.
Regal Petticoat. It's a maple, but it has two-toned colored leaves. It's got green on the top and red on the bottom. Mm-hmm. Of course, all of your fruiting, not non-fruiting trees like Bradford pear, the last tree to turn red in the fall of the year.
Sure.
Chanticleer, all those ornamental pears. Mm-hmm. Really good choice for here. What else?
Red oak.
Oak. Sure. Oaks, all the oak trees. Mm-hmm. Of course, they grow wild up in the higher ridge lines here. So there's a lot of good choices and a good time to plant them. The reason it's so good to plant a tree now is as those leaves turn, they take all the sugars from the leaves and they store them up in the roots. So you get this tremendous root growth. And then just as they're leafing out in spring, you get another flush of root growth. So you get 2 big flushes or extensions of roots before the summer heat of June. So you get a better take, they don't get stressed. You get a stronger tree, faster growth next spring. Mm-hmm. A lot of benefits. Come in and walk the lines. I'm sure there's the ornamental cherries. Oh, yeah. Same way. That's a beautiful orange foliage. Mm-hmm. Crab apples. They turn red to orange.
Ginkgos have a really pretty golden color. It's not just yellow, it's gold.
Yeah, it's a bright gold, like brighter than aspens. Mm-hmm. So good trees. Yeah, lots of good trees, and we're shipping more in as we speak. We're unloading trucks with trees in them.
Yeah. Okay. Next question is from Callie in Chino. She's narrowed down her choices for ground cover. Blue tip juniper, Kinnikinnick manzanita.
Okay.
And Eichholz cotoneaster.
Okay.
And she wants your opinion.
She's
I would never ask. I would just do it. But she wants your opinion on what would do best out in Chino in a hot, full sun spot.
All of those are great choices. There's not one right or wrong. They're famous locally for low growing. Those are all evergreen spreading trees. So shrubs. So they they retain erosion control. They take our dry. They're hot. They take all that stuff. The main thing is going to be speed of growth. Mm-hmm. So out of all of those, the manzanita will be the slowest growing. But also evergreen. It's got that red bark. It's a manzanita that gets up about ankle high. It's really pretty, but it's just slower growing. The most done would be the junipers, and the Wiltonii, the ones you mentioned, is a great choice. Real pretty blue green color to it. Great choice. Again, very low growing, methodical, slow, just methodical growing. You just know what you're going to get with the juniper, and you can count on it. Mm-hmm. The cotoneaster, or it maybe isn't quite as known. I prefer that one myself because it's evergreen. It has a white flower in the spring, and then it also has a red berry, which is very pretty. It's got more seasonal change to it than maybe the manzanita or the junipers. Mm-hmm. That's when you come in. She's already come in, already checked it all out. Scope. Now she's asking, going, okay, here's what I would do. I would do cotoneaster, then juniper, because they're companion plants so well. Yeah. But we're famous for the manzanita. We're just locally manzanita as well. Be right back.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona, with local garden expert and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
The 2018 Get Real Men's Expo is dedicated to spiritual guys of all faiths. This year features the monster truck Bigfoot, exotic cars and competitions filled with guys young and old, in calf roping, archery, and axe throwing. Ladies, yeah, you heard me right. This is a great father-son event that creates memories and motivates men to reconnect with their family and the God that uniquely loves each one of us. Special Forces vet and cage fighting world champion Brad Robichow is flying in as our motivational speaker. Chad is not only famous for his wins in the cage, best-selling author, but super motivational when it comes to living your faith as a man. His testimony is riveting. You have to hear it. I mean, wow! This year's Expo is the morning of September 22nd from 8:30 to 1. Chad Robichow shares his fearless leadership as a Marine, husband, and father at 11. Remember, September 22nd at 8:30, Yavapai College in Prescott, the Get Real Men's Expo. If you're a man, it's free.
You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and garden advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
Lisa and I have been traveling quite a bit over the last month and a half. And so we pretty much have a self-sustaining landscape. We can go, it's lush, it's beautiful, you feel relaxed, it's flowering, it's gorgeous. Waterfalls and fountains, it's bronzes, it's beautiful. But it's self-maintaining because we've got our irrigation on autopilot. We've got weeds. We keep them at bay so we don't have weeds coming up because we use weed and grass stopper in our yard twice a year. So there's certain tricks that we use so that we can get away and not have the whole landscape overtake your yard. Mainly the weeds were bad. So there was one weed, a spurge. It's a real low growing type of weed. It looks innocent, but it just reseeds everywhere, crawls through the rocks and just takes over, gets into pavers. It's insidious. It's tiny, innocent, and insidious. It's like the Blob. Remember the 50s? Steve McQueen, the Blob's going to come take you over. It just takes over the whole backyard. Am I dating myself by mentioning the Blob? Anyway, that one plant, there must be the weed and grass preventer must not affect that seed. I'm going to monitor it and practice with this and try it so I can help my folks that I help in the gardens better. But that one weed, I had to go out and spray that when I got back from a road trip, and it obliterated them. But if you're not careful, you got to watch. So it's probably all the rains came and just spread the seed, and it just took over. So watch that. If you're doing weeds, be careful. Let me give you some real good advice here. Don't use glyphosates. There's the advice. Don't use Roundup. there's advice. It causes cancer. There's some debate on it. It's kind of like we're in the throes of, does smoking cause cancer? Back in the 60s, we're having that conversation right now with Roundup. Does it cause cancer? And so some folks will say no. Some will say yes. The courts are already deciding yes. So people are getting suits. So there's already I forget what the size of this thing. It was a lot of millions of dollars guy got for it because of cancer from Roundup. And so I would suggest to friends and family, especially those that love pets and the environment and their dogs and their husbands and their wives, and they're out there enjoying their backyard, don't use Roundup. Those folks especially. If you just don't care and you're out there and you're going to let the weeds grow anyway, I would say maybe it doesn't matter as much. It's still easy to find. But I've stopped selling Roundup or any glyphosates at my store just because who's the guy that's going to get cancer? It's going to be the guy that sells it who's handling hundreds of cases of it a year, me or my staff, and I just don't want to risk that. And so I just stopped. I said, I'm making the call for anyone that shops at my place. We won't do that. We won't subject them to glyphosates in our store. So we have some extremely strong vinegar-based things called Burnout, B-U-R-N, Burnout, by Bonide. Great product. Man, it works faster than Roundup ever dreamed of. And it's very effective to our local weeds. And so I would suggest you use that. It comes in a concentrate, comes in a ready to use. It's very doable. I mean, a concentrate makes gallons of stuff. And then we've got some other kinder, there's still chemicals. I'm still nervous using them, but Weed Beater Ultra works better than Roundup ever dreamed of, and it's not a glyphosate. So we can get you where you're safer, but weeds are bad. And they're going to get worse. Weeds will continue to grow actively with vigor through Thanksgiving. I mean, it is so nice during the day at all elevations. It is so nice through Thanksgiving that weeds just continue to grow and grow and grow. So you'll get a tumbleweed that looks innocent. It's the size of a milk crate now, but it will soon be the size of a VW Beetle. I mean, like within a month. And so don't let it do that. So get on it. So if you've got a larger property, if you've got any property, get a pump-up sprayer and buy concentrates because it's way more economical to spray weed killers that way than a ready-to-use thing or a hoe. Yes, I used to be young, but I've had 2 back surgeries, and I'm not going to go out there and pull a weed up, root and all, because I'll throw my back out. It's harder to reach down that far. I've got arthritis in my hands. I'm not that. I mean, I still mountain bike miles. I still hike and I swim and do all. I'm healthy. It's not like I'm an old, decrepit guy sitting 400 pounds behind the microphone right now. I mean, I'm active. It's just I guess I've got more money than time anymore. I don't know. It's just a tank sprayer, man. Once or twice a month going out there with 1 gallon of spray and just knocking it back. If you can keep up on it, it really reduces it and you don't get overrun. And so I've been getting, here's my secret, 1 gallon tank sprayer. Not a 3 gallon, not a backpack, not a 5 gallon. They kill they're hard to tote around the yard. 1 gallon, anyone can carry 1 gallon. You can refill it as you need it. You put Burnout in it, and then here's the secret. Add in the same tank as Burnout, this pump-up sprayer, some spreader sticker. Mix it together. You go out and spray that combo on any weed, and it will vaporize almost before your eyes. By the end of the week, it's dead. I mean, just gone. You do that a couple times a month, and you're not going to have weeds coming up in the rock lawn. You're not going to have them coming up through the flower beds. So that little secret really plays out tremendously, reduces work in the yard.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona with local garden expert and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
Hi, Ken with the Plants of the Week and our fire alarm, Red Mums.
With a name like Fire Alarm, you'd expect large red blooms that take a fire hose to put the glowing petals out.
Just provide a little garden soil for a flaming red that will last and last.
But wait, there's more. This fire alarm mum comes back again for even bigger show next year and just $3.99.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love red mums, they love to shop.
Hi, Waters with the plants of the week and our Regal Petticoat Maple.
If you love maples but want superior leaf color, then this is your shade tree.
Regal maple leaves are glossy green on top with a velvety purple underside.
Through autumn, the petticoat leaves turn gold on top and red on the bottom side. I mean, wow!
This is a great shade tree for just $99.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love Regal maples, they love to shop. And we are back with Lisa Waters Lane in the studio. She comes each week and just shares her garden opinions. I value your opinion.
Okay, thank you, dear.
Men can actually say that, and we run a business together, so we have to be of one accord, or
there's dissension everywhere.
yeah, there's really So anyway, I do value your opinion.
I value yours too.
We are planning a new houseplant room that's unbelievable on paper.
Almost scary.
We're trying to figure out, a whole new, like a remodel extraordinaire. We're going to be like dust, and from roof to ceiling to floor, everything's going to be different here before the poinsettias come. So it'll be, there's a lot of dominoes to go before that. And then you've got to get your team, because we can't do it ourselves.
Right.
We got to get the teams buy in, or they will fight you, or it just works.
Yeah, I think they'll be excited about it.
I think they will too. So
yeah,
they haven't heard about this yet.
No.
So we're
so
just
tell them.
Probably shouldn't have mentioned it already. It's an idea on paper.
So now we got to follow through. It's probably a good thing, because now we're forced to make it happen.
Peer pressure by 200,000 people in northern Arizona. That's peer pressure.
I'm actually kind of excited about it. I think it'll be fun and unique and different, and it'll be good.
We were up in Salt Lake City. So garden centers get together all over the country. We get together once a year. And this year at Salt Lake, and there's a very famous garden center, Cactus and Tropical Garden Center. That's the name. And they do houseplants better than anyone else I have ever seen in the country. Now, Warner's does a pretty good job up in Flagstaff. I admire them greatly. I call them good friends. But I think Cactus and Tropical, or Tropicals and Cactus, do a better job. So we're going to kind of blend all these ideas together and come up with... Wow. And houseplant, or I call them patio tropicals, they doubled in sales this year here at our store. And so there's a trend for foliage, of softening up the inside of your house with something living. And so we're seeing that trend. And in Arizona, with this dry climate, it can be difficult. The dryness can be different than other parts of the country. So you got to tweak it a little bit. Which ones do better than others? We've kind of experimented. You're a houseplant guru.
I've become one.
You sure have.
I never used to be. I used to kill every houseplant I brought home.
Well, that's how you learn.
I've actually gotten fairly good at it.
Yeah, you have indeed.
Yeah.
So you have killed off a lot of life, though. That's true. That's how you learn, though. So
yeah. It is a learn. We'll just let it go at that. And not life. I've killed plants, not like living creatures.
Plants are living. What are you talking about?
I mean, like fuzzy, cute living creatures.
That's my job outside. Killed a two pack rats this week. Anyway, where do you got for us? We don't take the whole.
So, yes, it is mum season.
Yeah.
Definitely chrysanthemum season. And we always disagree, because I love late summer going into fall. It's my favorite time of year. You're like,
winter's coming. Oh, hunker down. Put my 10-pound winter weight on before it gets too cold.
But mums are certainly a wonderful part of that landscape, that late summer, early fall color. When everything else is just kind of gone, I'm a little tired. I think maybe I'm done. Mums are just that bright pop of color, or that nice fall color that you can put into decorating your yard or by your front door. And they are terrific perennials for here.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that they're perennials. I think a lot of them toss them out.
Yeah, I do. I've seen that too. They treat them as an annual. 2 months, they're done.
Right, which is okay. If you want to do that,
come back. We'll sell you more. But they do.
Put them out in your perennial bed or your yard. They're terrific.
So we should explain to folks, there are some mums that are nursery or greenhouse grown. Yeah. Those are annuals. They're not meant to be used over and over.
In flower shops.
Yeah, that's a floral grade kind of thing. But the perennial varieties, we grow these outside in full sun exposed. These you can plant them when you're done. Put them by the front door, decorate, and then plant them afterwards. They will come back for years and years and years.
Definitely.
In our local mountain gardens.
And that they have some really pretty fall colors. You know, the fire alarm reds. They have one that's called Fame that's red outside with a yellow button inside. There's some bronze colors. I love those colors. Now, not everybody's into fall colors, but they have some really pretty purples. There's one called Pizzazz Purple. That's a really dark, almost like amethyst type purple's gorgeous. So if that's your color, we have one customer that loves purple. She's always buying purple. She was here today. Bye.
Nice. That's
she
good.
saw those. She's like, purple. So very, very pretty. There's one out there called Morgana, which was a horrible name. I don't know. But it's a white, but it's not truly white. It's like a blush color, has a slight pink or peachy cast to it. Really, really pretty. I think it would be gorgeous mixed in, like with the purple one or some yellow ones. Absolutely gorgeous.
It is a super unusual color for mums. Usually they're those dark fall colors, your burgundies and stuff, but to have a whiter cream colored peach color, that's super unusual for mum.
Yeah, and the yellow mums, you can't forget your yellow mums because they scream fall too. But the other thing to think about with mums is plants that they look really nicely planted with. So, of course, I like the grasses. I love to switch out my pots, and I'll put some grasses in there and some mums around it to give it that fall flavor, that fall decoration look. And one of my favorite grasses, which I guess truly isn't a grass, it's a sedge. So there's what's the name of it? Red Rooster? I think it's Red Rooster sedge. That's more of a brownish, reddish color. Really pretty in fall. I mean, I like it year round.
That's its native color. I mean, it grows red.
Right.
It's not like it's fading and it's red all the time.
It'll stay that color all the time.
Yep.
But really nice fall decorative type thing by your front door. Put a big grass in the center with some mums around it. Maybe a little bit of ivy around that as well. There's the other thing I like to mix with it is the plume-tastic muhly grass. So the muhly grass is green, but it puts on a purpley pink plume on it. It's spectacular, especially when the sun's going down, the wind's waving. Really, really pretty. So I like that planted with the mums as well.
Sounds absolutely plumtastic.
Ooh,
that's the name. That's a good name.
It is. It is. The other grass that I like to plant with mums is the Carl Forrester grass.
Classic, yeah.
Because Carl Forrester is it's a bigger grass, but he doesn't get out of control. Kind of maintains its shape and its plumes for a long, long time. Very, very pretty. But you can also mix in with your containers or in the ground snapdragons. It's definitely getting snapdragon time again. Multitudes of colors from dark reds to pinks to yellows to whites to mixed. And snaps do so nicely here.
I think they do better here because they don't get the rust that the Midwest gets or the South gets.
Right.
They don't melt down like the Northwest. It loves the dry, high altitude, bright sun.
And the critters leave it alone.
Isn't that crazy? You would think the critters would be all over a snapdragon. They don't.
They're not.
Now, I do love those kales you had come in. They must be 14 inches across. They're ridiculously large and beautiful. We've got to have some of those, but not in the front yard where the javelina are. They have to be in the backyard that's fenced because the critters do like ornamental kale. As a general.
Of course they do. Our dog likes
ornamental. Yeah, that's true, yeah.
We've tried to put it in the back, and he's always
chewing on it.
The kale.
I think he's forgotten. He's gotten old enough where he's forgotten.
So?
No, maybe I'll try it one more time. I love kale. I want kale.
I also like to plant heucheras with the mums as well, and heucheras come in that real pretty marmalade green. It's my favorite one to mix in.
So perennials, you've got annuals, you've got mums, all of them in stock. All of them come. Fall is here.
Yeah.
You can decorate with flowers right now.
You bet.
Come talk to Lisa and her team. They'll be glad to help you design some fall flowers, fall gardens in your own yard. Be right back.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona with local garden expert and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
Hi, Ken here with the plants of the week and our fragrant low sumac.
The cute foliage is fragrant when brushed against and utterly detestable to wildlife of all kinds.
A knee-high native that takes any abuse, loves wind, blistering hot sun, and rocky hillsides.
At $39, this hardy shrub is ideal for owners of investment and commercial rentals.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love native sumac, they love to shop. Get Real Men's Expo is dedicated to spiritual guys of all faiths. This year's full of exotic cars, motorcycles, and competitions filled with guys young and old in archery, cow roping, and axe throwing. Ladies, yeah, you heard me right. This is a great father-son event that creates memories and motivates men to reconnect with their community and a God that uniquely loves each one of us. This year's expo is September 22nd at 8:30 to 1. Yavapai College in Prescott. If you're a man, it's free. So this week, we just harvested. We dug out of the farm, out of the ground, our spruce trees, Brackeye spruce, Colorado spruce, Fat Albert spruce. They're really silvery blue spruces, the ones that look like a Christmas tree. So the mountains of Arizona are famous for our spruce and fir and pine forest. But the spruce and fir hold their foliage right to the ground, big swooping branches that come out. They're just majestic. And they're about to come into their own as we get further. The first leading edge of fall color is starting to show up. In another 2 to 3 weeks, by the end of this month, it will be fall. And then through October and November, it's just full color, beautiful leaves. We're all commenting. Instagram will be full of nothing but pictures of fall foliage. So it's just starting to happen now. Well, we dig these spruce out of the ground because they fill in. They look nicer and thicker and fuller if they're field grown in a farm. Then we dig them up, put burlap around them. Then we'll put them in a black grower's bucket, pack around some mulch around, and then we ship those down to the garden center where we can sell them for winter evergreens and for living Christmas trees. I mean, I used to sell, how many? Close to 1,000 Christmas trees, cut trees. This is, I'm dating myself, 15 years ago, 2 semi-loads of Christmas trees. More and more people went with plastic trees. That's fine if you like dust. You don't like the fragrance of evergreens. But really what's happened is people are shifting over to living trees. We now have more revenue coming in here at Waters Garden Center. This is unique to us, but we believe in it. We do more living Christmas trees than we do cut trees anymore. And so it's kind of exciting to see the change. I honestly think part of that is because there's so many new rooftops. If you're going to spend $100 on or $89 or whatever it is, I'll call it $100 on a cut Christmas tree you use for 3 weeks and throw it away, why not spend $120 on a living tree that you can go out and plant afterward? Just a little bit more money, and you can get a living tree. So I think folks are using that to go add to their landscapes because in a new home, let's face it, your landscape, it's boring. I mean, it is empty, it's lunar, it's dusty, it's rocky, it's lacking something living and breathing in there. Part of that landscape was some deciduous things that lose their leaves. It'll be pretty fall color, but come winter, it's really, it was barely had any plants in there to begin with. Now you go through fall and it really doesn't have anything. So people are buying living trees, evergreens to add or accessorize their yard just so it feels like something in the winter. So 20% of all of your landscape should be evergreens, just dedicated to nothing but things that hold their foliage or their needles through winter. 20% should be added or dedicated to spring blooming things. That's lilacs and forsythias, things that really announce spring, your purple leaf plums, things that really go, it's spring, welcome. It just feels good. 20% should be summer bloomers. That's what's been blooming or is blooming right now. Your Rose of Sharon, your crepe myrtles. The roses came into bloom again this week. So they look really good. And then a combination thereof should be a fall color. Now that leaves spring, summer, fall, winter, 20%. That leaves you an extra 20% to put anywhere you want. What makes you giddy? What gets you up going? What excites you when you come through the gardens and you go, whoa, what is that? I got to have one of those. It doesn't matter what season is blooming. You can take it and add it in there. So maybe it's a summer blooming crepe myrtle because you just love that summer color and you're here. This is your summer home. You're going back to Palm Springs or Tucson or Scottsdale later. Well, invest in more summer bloomers, and you don't need as many winter evergreens because you're down in the valleys when you don't care so much. You're down at that home. So invest more heavily in the season that you really enjoy that. If you tend to travel all the time in the summer, go for spring bloomers just before or more winter evergreens. If you're from California, it seems like my Southern California folks, they just love evergreens. So they go more heavily into nandinas or heavenly bamboo. It's an evergreen shrub, gets anywhere from knee-high to head-high, depending on which model. But the foliage actually turns color, gets this bright red foliage, and then it doesn't lose those leaves. It holds them. And then those red leaves turn back into green next year. So they seem to really like those. Cotoneasters, there's some viburnums. There's several plants like that. Some of your junipers, they might be a gray color or a silver color now, but then they turn more purple in the winter. So my customers that love, from Southern California, they love their evergreens. I'm going, okay, let me show you some that are seasonal and they're evergreen. And they might bloom sometimes. We don't have the same plants because those plants won't grow at high altitudes, but there's some that are good substitutes or maybe even better choices at the higher elevation. So we guide them towards that. So 20% spring, 20% summer, 20% fall, 20% evergreen, and then the last 20%, whatever you want. So you've got something interesting going on every season of the year. And so right now we're into that fall color. So we are selling a lot of aspens, lots of maples, especially the red maples seem to be a favored. Lots of ash, like Raywood ash, autumn fantasy ash, Arizona ash. And so the ash families are famous for their fall colors. Even the locust, the golden locust especially, it's such a pretty tree. New foliage comes out gold. It's this bright, just green color through summer, and then it turns fall color as gold again. It's like this 2 seasons of gold. It's really fascinating and super drought hardy. I mean, you can't kill the thing unless you gun it down with a tractor or you overwater it. Those are the only 2 ways. So it's just a good, strong plant for the mountains of Arizona. So that you're into your planting season for fall. I would encourage you, take out the stuff that looks ratty. If you've been struggling to keep something growing or it came out kind of off, it looks scraggly, half dead from spring, that last winter's drought kind of got to it. You've been nurturing it because that's what your grandmother would have done. She could have made this thing a twig, thrown it on the ground and watch it grow into something magnificent. If it's been all season and it still looks bad, it's not coming back. Sometimes you just got to call it and go, that baby's ugly. It got damaged last year. I've tried the best I could. I think it's time to take a shovel to the roots and pop it out of the ground and go replace it with something pretty. It's okay. You gardeners, I feel for you sometimes. You've got such guilt for killing something that's ugly in the ground. It's got 2 twigs. It was this lush, beautiful thing last fall, and now it's this ugly-looking thing bringing you down. You got a $500,000 house, and you've got ugly plants in the ground. That should not be the case. So it's okay to take something. It's not meant to live forever. Plants do not live forever. There's a season for plants where they look their best. And then there's a season where they look like they should be in hospice or something. They're just, they should, you the gardener, the homeowner, need to go, okay, I've had it. That's it. We're going to have something, by the end of the day, we're going to have something nice here. Mums came in. If you've got an overgrown tomato that is just bringing you down, hasn't produced a tomato in a month, it's not going to. You're running out of daylight. It needs long days, warm nights to produce. pull that thing out, put a beautiful new mum in. Buy a pumpkin to go with it. It's fall. Enjoy the fall decorating season. This is really not about planting this transition season. This is about decorating. This is when you harvest those gourds. You bring them up front. You dress them up with pansies. You change out some of those summer things that have just gotten ugly or the bugs really got to them. Pull them and put something fresh and new. Your pansies will bloom right through winter. Your violas will bloom January, right through winter. If you're from the Midwest, you don't understand. Well, I come from Forest City and we get 8-foot frost line in Wisconsin. That was not my Wisconsin voice. Sorry. Sorry, all my Wisconsin folks. We're so mild that it will keep blooming right through winter. It's amazing, actually. People are mesmerized. So violas, snapdragons, ornamental kales. I've got ornamental kales over a foot wide. They're stunning. Plant them now, they'll bloom right through winter. They never get damaged enough through winter to stop their show. You can do that in a bright, warm, high-altitude garden. Be right back.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona with local garden expert and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
Hi, Ken, with our Vine of the Week and our Arizona Sunset Trumpet Vine.
Huge, deep red flowers cluster to create a dramatic summer show.
This vigorous vine thrives and blooms with near neglect.
Fast growing to cover chain link fence, shade structures, and trellis quick.
Easy to train as a ground cover up a rock face to hold soils from erosion, and just $34.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love vines that bloom red, they love to shop.
Hi, Ken, with the Plants of the Week and our Fire Alarm Red Mums.
With a name like Fire Alarm, you'd expect large red blooms that take a fire hose to put the glowing petals out.
Just provide a little garden soil for a flaming red that will last and last.
But wait, there's more. This Fire Alarm Mum comes back again for even bigger show next year and just $3.99.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love red mums, they love to shop.
You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and garden advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
Now, a couple of events coming up that are near and dear to my heart. We're a local company, and we like to give back to our neighbors. This is not a company. This is not about profit. I would have been a corporate banker still. That was all about money, and you stab the guy in front of you or gal and just get him out of the way because you're going to the top. That's big companies. And I didn't like myself. I was really good at it, too good at it. And I said, I'm not going to lose my soul to this thing. I'm going back home. And so this is where I grew up, Prescott, northern Arizona. I've logged so many miles in the north country of Arizona that it's just fun. I still enjoy going out there and just experiencing the solitude, the majesty, the friendships, the spirit of the people in northern Arizona, the communities. We just like each other. We just get along better. You don't see that in Portland. You don't see that in Chicago. You don't see that in LA. But you do see that in the communities of northern Arizona. Flagstaff, I love the outdoorsy vibe. I like that. I would rather go to Flagstaff and do my shopping and support another small community than go to Phoenix, where they're just a rat race, run around, speed. You got to increase your heart rate by threefold just to hit I-17. I'd rather go to Payson or Sedona or I love downtown Cottonwood. It's beautiful. The restaurants, the vineyards, it's got something magical. And so that's where I'd rather go. That's just me, though. But I came home, and part of that spirit or that vibe or that culture is we give back. We look after each other. We donate. We volunteer. That's within, especially if you grew up here, it's within your DNA. And so we've taught our kids, be a giver, not a taker. Be a life giver, not a life sucker. You give back to your community. If things are sponsored, we go all in. So if it's a volleyball or basketball or swim team. When our kids were growing up, we said, yeah, we'll sponsor them all. We'll go all in. So that's just how you look for ways to give back. Well, I've got one event I've got going that's one of my passions, the Men's Expo. This is Yavapai College in Prescott, right here downtown. Will be next weekend. This is September 22, from 8:30 to 1. So they start with breakfast. They've got car shows. They've got calf roping. They've got axe throwing. They've got exotic motorcycles, exotic cars. It's just a hoot. If you're a man, this is testosterone. Let's go. Rah! I love this. Hey, look, there's no butt slapping. Oh, there shouldn't be, but you kind of want to. It's like you're coming off the football field going, yeah, men. And so it's kind of that, and it's meant to be that. And it's my passion was I saw churches fragmenting and separating. I'm going, how can I, as a little guy here that grew up here, how can I get churches together? And so the Men's Expo was a way of doing it. A bunch of Christian business owners just got together and said, we can do this. And so this is not really sponsored by any one church, but there's 35, maybe more, different churches getting involved to put the Men's Expo in. But it's really Christian business leaders that have funded it, promoted it, lined it up, organized it, and got it going. And so it's no denomination. It's not any one thing, and that I think we're bringing the community together. And then, because it's Christian business owners, we can afford to pitch in a little bit, each of us, and promote and bring in a top name speaker. So Chad Robichaux, he was the world champion cage fighter. I don't even understand what I just said, but he's coming in going, this is like a man's man. But it nearly destroyed his marriage. And so he's coming to share that story of restoration, what the Spirit can do, and how it's more than just you and I. It's about more than that. And he's coming to speak at the Yavapai College Theater Room at 11 o'clock. So I cannot wait. I have heard a lot of his YouTubes, read his book. It's amazing, the story. He's going to share that, but only after we throw some axes, rope some cows, go forward. But that's something. Also, I should mention, garden classes every Saturday. Next week, it's gardening for newcomers, I believe. I should look that up. Let me look. So watersgardencenter.com. No, next week it's fruit trees, how to grow them and get the harvest. Then it's planting success. How do you actually plant in mountain soils? Irrigation, October 6th. Top trees of fall, October 13th. Designer gardens, Lisa's teaching that one October 20th. And it goes on. Look at watersgardencenter.com. But the Men's Expo, next Saturday, September 22nd, 8:30 to 1 at Yavapai College in Prescott. Be there or be square, especially if you're a man.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona, with local garden experts and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
Gardening has always come natural to me. Green thumbs, they just run in the family. So when the Family Garden Center was offered to Lisa and I, we jumped on the opportunity. I've always loved coming to the nursery, being surrounded by all the beauty, helping the backyard gardener, and passing on some of that natural magic that happens so easily for me. We aren't just selling plants, we're offering garden success. My name is Ken Lane, owner, and you'll feel the magic here at Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road, here in Prescott.
You've been listening to local garden expert Ken Lane, the owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Join him each week as he answers timely garden questions unique to the area. He can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center, located in Prescott at 1815 Iron Springs Road. Thanks for tuning in to The Mountain Gardener.